When someone dies, where does their soul go? Do they step into the light? Does someone come to receive them? Or do they pass through an invisible doorway into a space between two worlds? In this video, we'll explore the true journey of the soul after death, based on the Bible, forgotten ancient texts, and real near-death experiences. Not speculation, not dogma, but stories drawn from what's already being revealed. Welcome to Life After Death Unveiled, where the soul's journey is illuminated with truth and compassion. If you've ever wondered what happens after death, hit like, subscribe, and join us as we explore the journey of souls beyond this life. And now, let's begin at the very first moment, when the soul leaves the body and enters a reality beyond time. Ecclesiastes 12:7 says, "The dust returns to the ground it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it." It's a verse that, for many, sounds poetic, but for the soul in that exact moment, it's reality. When the body releases its final breath, something invisible yet undeniable occurs. The soul begins to separate, not with pain, not with drama, but often with a quiet shift, like a thread being gently pulled loose. At first, there may be confusion, a strange lightness, or a deep, unfamiliar calm. Some describe it as suddenly feeling freed from weight, as if they're no longer bound by time or gravity. There are those who recount seeing their own bodies from above, lying still on a hospital bed, surrounded by loved ones. But they are no longer in it. They are watching, feeling, remembering, but not bound to flesh. Others describe moving through a soft mist, like drifting through a veil between two worlds. They don't walk, they don't speak, but they know. They have crossed over. It's not yet heaven. It's not yet judgment. But it is the beginning, the very first step in the soul's journey beyond death. And in that sacred in-between, many souls realize one thing with overwhelming clarity. They are no longer part of the world they once knew, and yet, they still exist. Most people think there are only two destinations after death, heaven or hell, but Scripture reveals something far more layered. There are realms of rest and realms of waiting, not final destinations, but spiritual holding places where the soul pauses before judgment. In Luke 23:43, Jesus turns to the thief on the cross and says, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." This was not heaven in its final eternal sense. It was paradise, a realm of peace, a temporary place of comfort for the redeemed, a place where the soul is safe, at rest, awaiting the resurrection. But for others, Luke 16:22-26 describes a very different reality. A rich man dies and finds himself in Hades, a realm of awareness, sorrow, and distance from divine comfort. He can see, feel, and even speak. But there is a great chasm fixed between him and paradise. Hades is not the same as hell. It is not the lake of fire, Gehenna, described in Revelation. That place comes after the final judgment. Hades is a waiting realm, a spiritual space where the soul resides in separation, not yet sentenced, but not in peace. Picture it like this. The soul has left the physical world. It now finds itself in a transit station between realms, not heaven, not hell, but a place of awareness, where what the soul believed, how it lived, and who it trusted becomes profoundly real. For some, this place feels like a warm rest before reunion. For others, it feels like exile. What happens next will depend not on fear, but on truth, because these temporary realms are not the end. They are only the beginning of what comes after. The Apostle Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians 4:13-17 about those who have fallen asleep in the Lord. This idea of spiritual sleep doesn't mean unconsciousness or oblivion. It means waiting in a place where time no longer flows as it does on earth. There are no clocks, no calendars, only a sense of being suspended, as if the soul is held gently between what was and what is yet to come. Some near-death accounts describe this state as floating in peace, wrapped in a presence that feels like love itself. Others speak of silence, of being aware, but without direction. A soul in this space can't act, but it can feel. It remembers, it reflects, and what it experiences depends deeply on the condition it carried at the moment of death. For some, this waiting feels like rest, a stillness filled with warmth and hope. For others, it feels like disconnection, a distant echo of regret, longing, or fear. This is not punishment, nor is it reward. It's a space of mercy, a pause before the final reckoning, a sacred hush before the great unveiling. In that silence, the soul becomes more aware than ever before, not of the world, but of itself. Jesus said in John 5:28-29, "A time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will rise to live, and those who have done evil will rise to be condemned." This moment is the great resurrection. The long wait ends. The soul is no longer in limbo, no longer sleeping. It is summoned, called by the voice of eternity to stand before its Creator. Imagine it. Countless souls from all generations, rising, awakening, each carrying the imprint of their choices, their loves, their truths. This is not chaos. It is order, a divine summoning where every soul will come face to face with truth itself. And then, judgment, not in the way we often fear it, but in a way that reveals who we truly are and what we have chosen to become. Two paths unfold. The first is the new heaven and the new earth. Revelation 21 describes it as a place where God dwells with his people, where there is no more death, no more mourning, only light, joy, and everlasting communion with the divine. The second is the lake of fire. Revelation 20:15. Not just a place of suffering, but the ultimate separation from the source of life and love. A place where the soul, by its own rejection of truth, chooses distance over intimacy, darkness over light. Picture it, a great cosmic gathering, souls standing in line, not with fear, but with the weight of all they've lived. This is not the end. It's the moment of unveiling, the final clarity, where nothing is hidden, and each soul is known completely and placed exactly where it has always been heading. Every soul is on a path, not by accident, but by direction, and that path leads to one of two destinations. The truth is, we don't wake up one day in eternity by surprise. Where the soul goes after death is not decided in a single moment, but shaped by every moment that came before. Your beliefs, your desires, your posture toward truth, love, and the divine. Heaven is not earned, but neither is it random. It's a destination of alignment, a homecoming for the soul that has longed for light, and separation, what Scripture calls the lake of fire, is not a cruel punishment imposed from above, but the natural end of a soul that chose distance over surrender. But here is the good news. You are still breathing, which means there is still time, not time to fear, but time to reflect, time to realign, because death does not divide us suddenly. It simply reveals where we've been going all along. So pause, look inward. If you were to die tonight, do you know where your soul is headed? Not as a threat, but as an invitation to stop drifting, to choose fully, freely, and finally. The door is still open, but it won't stay open forever. So now, you've seen the path unfold. From the moment the soul leaves the body, to the waiting realms between worlds, to the final resurrection and judgment. The Bible doesn't just speak of heaven and hell, it reveals layers, temporary realms, moments of pause, places of reflection, separation, and mercy. But in the end, there are only two eternal homes, one in the presence of the Creator, one apart from Him. And now we return to the image we began with, a door, a quiet threshold, one that every soul will one day step through. When it opens for you, where will it lead? This isn't a question to fear. It's one to face with courage and clarity, because how you live now is shaping what comes next. So if this message spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe to this channel if you want to keep exploring the sacred journey of the soul. Comment below if you've ever had a spiritual experience that made you question what comes after death. Share this video with someone who needs light, clarity, and hope. This is Life After Death Unveiled, and we believe that truth, no matter how mysterious, was meant to be revealed.